What happens when a podcaster tries to drink and podcast on an empty stomach? You're about to find out. Hello, welcome to episode 15 of The Bitcoin Game. I'm Rob Mitchell. Regular listeners of this podcast know that I recently attended the Texas Bitcoin Conference. This was my first Bitcoin conference, and my goal was to interview people and record the speakers and panels. I didn't know how either would go, and I was a little nervous about it. Today's episode gets us through the event's kickoff party. I'll preface the episode by saying I went straight from the airport to the Friday night party at Maria's Taco Express, with my last meal being in Los Angeles. And in a sense of urgency, I didn't order any food at the establishment, but I did have a number of drinks. So what happens when a podcaster tries to drink and podcast on an empty stomach? You're about to find out. It's 5 p.m. on March 27th. I'm on my flight from Los Angeles to Austin, Texas, on my way to the Texas Bitcoin Conference. The lady sitting next to me has been working on her laptop doing something really technical looking, but I couldn't figure out what it was, so I had to ask. It turns out she's a chip designer from Austin. I told her I'm on my way to a Bitcoin conference, and she asked me what Bitcoin was, so that surprised me a lot that she didn't know. I'm going to be heading straight from the Austin airport to the conference kickoff party at Maria's Taco Express, and hopefully it won't be tricky to stash my bag somewhere there. I'm going to try to grab interviews at the party, but I also plan to have some drinks and enjoy myself and just meet people. I'm hoping to meet up with John Barrett at the party. He told me he'll be playing Ode to Satoshi at some point tonight, so that should be fun. Brought my usual Zoom H4 digital audio recorder for getting interviews at the conference, but today I'm just using an old iPhone 4S to record. I was actually surprised how decent the audio is just from the built-in mic, especially using an app called Rode Record. Using a phone seems like a lot less of a hassle at the party compared to breaking out my dedicated recorder and the handheld mics and all that stuff. So next time I check in, I'll be in Austin. All right, I'm here waiting for my Uber to show up. Should be here in like a minute or two. Tried my first experience with Lyft, and for some reason it didn't automatically take the driver to the right place. He said he was here, and he was nowhere near me, but waiting for Uber. It's really nice out. Didn't realize how much greenery there was in Austin, and it's pretty cool. The flight was good. Oh, and here's my ride, so I'm gonna go. I'm here at the kickoff party at the Texas Bitcoin Conference. You guys, I'm just gonna hand this iPhone around. Wait, so tell me your names again.
Scott. James.
Big Jane.
So I just started talking to you guys. You guys said hello to me. And there's a lot of people here. It's really loud, as you can hear. But you guys are not the technical person behind your project. But who wants to talk for you guys? Okay, so what is your project?
It's called AI Coin. And basically it's a coin that has sub-second transaction times. It's instant send and instant spend. And it has a unique Java wrapper around it, which is the patented technology on it, and it can be implemented on any coin to provide a sub-second transaction time. So say if Bitcoin wanted to fork and turn into a POS coin, they could implement our technology and make it a sub-second transaction time so that all POS merchants could use it instantly, and you don't have to sit around and wait for the coin to confirm or anything like that.
Interesting. Do we have to wait for your developer to ask you technically how that works?
I'm the graphics guy, so I go off of what I read just as much, but the developer will be here tomorrow during the conference too.
So what was interesting was you guys were all saying you were in different cities, and I said, how did you guys hook up? And you said you were involved with Paycoin before.
Well, we didn't help with Paycoin. We were part of like buying the hashlets and got scammed out of money from Mr. Josh Garza. As far as Paycoin goes, Paycoin is a scam, but Hashtalk, the community, was a great community. We all got together a lot on tiny chats and stuff like that, and so we all knew each other from it.
I'd like to add that AI Coin stands for Artificial Intelligence Coin.
Do you want to say anything?
The only thing I'll say a little bit more technical about the coin, the Java wrapper has about 8 years of actual artificial intelligence software that was created for a previous project that will be implemented. And anytime we need to make change to the Java wrapper, it will not fork the coin because it's only communicating with the Bitcoin daemon. Or it's not actually part of the Bitcoin code, it's actually a separate entity that communicates with the code.
Well, since I'm not a technical person, I don't know if I can parse that. But can I ask you guys more about Paycoin stuff? Because I don't really keep up on that. Just, I just read the headlines. I look at my Zero Block app every day and see stuff. And like, I know someone who I kind of know. He started a site called CoinFire, and they were the really early ones to report about, I guess, the SEC investigating. And man, he got hammered. His site got hammered.
CoinFire was hacked at one time.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I forgot about that too. So I felt really bad. The guy's name is Mike.
They broke the SEC investigation. They broke the story and they printed the documents online. So how anyone can deny that they're not being investigated by the SEC is beyond me. It's a fact.
So where were you guys with Paycoin, like, say, right before that story came out on CoinFire?
I was one of the hugest bloggers for Paycoin. I put my name, my reputation on the line. I diligently documented everything that Mr. Garza was telling his customers. I never had any inside information, but I would edit his announcements to the community, and I bought it hook, line, and sinker, and I wrote extensive blogs about Paycoin, and I had to go back and literally apologize in writing to any investor who may have lost money because of any influence that I might have had. And in liquidating my own account, which I paid thousands of dollars for, ended up being worth maybe a couple hundred. It was so distasteful to me that I decided to raffle off my Paycoin account for charity. And this is very serendipitous because this convention is all about charity and nonprofits. And we are really excited because we have a ceremonial check to present to Jason King for Sean's Outpost. What I decided to do was wash my hands of everything Paycoin. I didn't want a dollar out of it. To me, it's dirty money. So I raffled off my account for charity. We raised $1,500 for Sean's Outpost, which is a homeless advocacy organization that only accepts Bitcoin. But most people have not had such happy endings.
You guys want to add anything else? Or?
I would say to anybody that's on Paycoin or still part of the hashtag community to really go back and look and see what promises that the Josh has made to everybody, because it's just a promise after another, and every time his coin goes down below a certain price, he promises something that never shows up, so he can get the price to go back up so he can dump on everybody. It's insane that people are still even...
Sorry, the most salient point is that he promised there would be no pre-mine. He pre-mined 12 million Paycoins, which is 97% of the total Paycoins, and every day they dump about 30,000 coins. And so they will issue these news releases saying, oh, we're doing this, we're doing that, and then people will buy, and the price will go up, and they'll dump their 30,000, and nothing will happen. Stand, that turned out to be another scam.
Where you get like a beta invite, and certain people, like maybe 10, can buy things at $20 per Paycoin. But
he's going to give all of his customers $20 per Paycoin since he promised they would hold the floor. Well, they never had the money to hold the floor. There was never any floor. And so his way of pretending to keep his promise is to let 10 of his favorite customers spend 50 Paycoin at 20 per. 10 customers. And the rest of us are all holding our bags.
Okay. So I'm sorry I just made this a whole dish about Paycoin, but let me know when your developer wants to talk. Again, I'm happy to talk to everybody here.
Well, the good news is that we're really not a bunch of negative people. We've learned some really tough lessons. We've gone to the Graduate School of Hard Knocks, and our forum, our coin, everything we do is a direct result of these hard lessons that we learned with Paycoin. So we're actually able to put these defeats into a proactive, positive coin.
how did you guys actually come together as a team?
A lot of us would get together on a tiny chat every week just to talk about Paycoin when we were part of it, and brainstorm what we thought was going to happen with the coin, and got to know each other over a couple months. And Scott here had been working with AI coin for several months before we even met him, and then just talking to him and then seeing what Paycoin had become, we got out, but we all stayed friends, and then he brought us on to help with the website and some graphics design from what I do, and she does media stuff to help with the coin. So it was just a happen chance of meeting people and becoming friends and be able to help each other out.
So do you guys all have day jobs and this is just a project? Yeah, okay, yes.
Part of the beauty is that we have real jobs to support our crypto habit.
I work for Terminex as doing termite inspections.
We're devoting a ton of volunteer time to this because we really believe in it. None of us have been paid.
Do you guys have something in writing, like what's going on? Are you guys?
Yes, we have contracts. We have non-disclosure agreements. We disclose just about everything our company's going to do on the forum. Save our proprietary artificial intelligence software. Everything else, anything we use open source is all disclosed. Where our money's going to go will be disclosed. There's only a few things that aren't going to be disclosed, and like again I said, that's from the previous project. They did sign an agreement, and there will be an issuance of payment for work rendered if we get venture capitalists to fund us. We do have a pay schedule. We actually want people to get involved. If anybody wants to get involved to get some of this AI coin, you make a picture we like, we'll pay you for it in AI coin. That's the goal of this coin, is to bring community in, let contractors earn it, come in and do something.
Is there a website I should look at?
Absolutely, on our card.
It's ai-cointalk.org is the forum, and then the website is ai-coin.org.
There's a couple of features of our coin that I particularly like that I think your listeners might really like. It's a cooperative mining paradigm. So there's no competition, there's no orphan blocks. It's a very fairly distributed payment system. All of our nodes are paid, all of our super peers are paid, and our developer wants to set a precedent to pay developers and contract workers at a higher rate than any other crypto. They really want to raise the bar in crypto. So anybody with any talent, any development skill, if you have something to offer, come on down.
So now I have to ask, where are these funds coming from to pay everybody?
Well, it's going to be initially after AI coin launches, and then the trading on the market and be able to get those funds, or from venture capitalists, that kind of thing.
Our developer is a miner, and so he's paying out of his pocket with Bitcoin.
Oh, so he was an early adopter? Okay.
Like right now, he paid us, or he paid for our trip down here to help out and that kind of thing.
Bitcoin so we could fly here and stay here and everything.
Very cool. Well, sounds like the music started. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for interviewing.
We'll see how the sound.
You can always do it again
I
tomorrow.
might not hear any of it.
Yeah, I'm going to try to listen a little bit right now.
And this was our first go, so we
Interview
love
over.
it.
Do you guys have card?
Yes, we do.
All right, I'm going to blame this on just getting here straight off a flight and having a shot and a beer already, but tell me your name again.
Hey, I'm Sheldon Weisfeld.
We just stepped away from the party a little bit, and tell me what you're doing.
So, Rob, we operate the Coin Vault ATM network of Bitcoin ATMs, which gives the consumer the opportunity to simply put in cash and get Bitcoin, or bring their Bitcoin and get cash back out. Very simple, easy point-of-sale type of presence using a bank-grade technology that basically requires the customer to register just like you would any other bank account. So you take a picture, use a cell phone, scan your ID, you get approved on our network in a matter of seconds, and then you're free to move about and do business with Bitcoin. You can buy $9,000 at a time or sell up to $9,000 in cash.
That sounds about like the registration process with RoboCoin. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, we do. We are a licensee of the RoboCoin technology, and we launched the first one in Austin, Texas, March the 2nd, 2014, which was Texas Independence Day. So it was pretty ironic that here we're giving people financial independence on Texas Independence Day. Here we are sitting almost a year later. It's exciting to have you in our city of Austin, Texas. Welcome, Rob, to the beginnings of the Texas Bitcoin Conference.
Thanks so much, and this is my first time in Austin and my first Bitcoin conference, so this is quite exciting for me.
Well, what you'll learn is there's a huge ecosystem in the Austin market with all the technology-centric businesses, the understanding of freedoms, which includes financial freedom, is what Bitcoin affords folks. Just real briefly to your listening audience, I got introduced to Bitcoin just a mere about 16, 17 months ago, and I tried to buy some Bitcoin using traditional gateway and went through the very arduous process of mailing off my proof of residence, my personal ID, my social security numbers, and I realized then at some point using the Coinbase solution, it took 7 days for them to credit me to use the Bitcoin, and I realized that in order to drive mainstream adoption, you have to create a very simple point of presence where the consumer can either onboard or offboard this ecosystem. And we're humbled and honored to basically be, at this point, the world's single largest Bitcoin ATM operator that functions fully bidirectional.
Tell me more. You're the biggest?
Well, they tell us we're the biggest. Ironically, you got to realize there's really only about 80 full functional Bitcoin ATMs that actually function where you can buy Bitcoin or sell Bitcoin. There are several hundred Bitcoin vending machines around the world, which are simply vending machines. You put cash in and you can get Bitcoin. A full function ATM, or BTM sometimes defined, really is that it functions to allow you to buy and sell. So in that capacity, we are currently the largest operator in that space. We operate Houston, Texas, Austin, Texas, and Dallas, Texas, and soon to be expanding into a lot of other cities around the nation, as well as other markets around the world.
So what does it take to get into your line of business with Bitcoin ATMs?
Well, what I would tell you is that it's really simple to get into, but yet it's rather complex and difficult because we do operate fully compliant to the federal guidelines of the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, commonly known as FinCEN. We are registered and became registered under the guidelines as an MSB, or a money service business for your listening audience, and that we have identified and evaluated multiple manufacturers' products. We own 3 different manufacturers' equipment that we made capital investments into so that we could ensure that we're meeting all the federal guidelines. As your audience may or may not be aware, Rob, we have the issue known as money laundering, or commonly known as AML, anti-money laundering, and the requirements under the Federal Financial Crimes Enforcement Network under the Bank Secrecy Act, or the BSA, that we maintain a Know Your Customer requirement, the KYC. And that's technology is purely embedded into the RoboCoin platform, which we are 100% compliant to and continue to develop so that we don't get into a trap not being compliant and therefore having the regulators then want to more regulate Bitcoin, which possibly would stifle the growth and the advancement, because I believe your listening audience understands the value proposition and the efficiency of what Bitcoin represents.
So if Bitcoin is to become pervasive and mainstream, would you consider the Bitcoin ATMs just kind of a transitional technology, or do you see them having a place in the future?
Well, I was very fortunate last week. I was at South by Southwest here in Austin, one of the largest technology-centered facilities. They're very open-minded and very forward-thinking, and I actually asked that question myself. And several of the very well-respected folks in the ecosystem that are very active in the venture capital space clearly said that the Bitcoin ATMs, in their opinion, have an incredible opportunity this next 10 years. So we've got a decade of onboarding and educating the market on the value proposition Bitcoin represents, and that the ATMs themselves are the easiest method right now to onboard them. As Bitcoin becomes mainstream adoption and used more and more in commerce, people aren't going to have the need necessarily to offboard. All they're going to need is to onboard.
Okay, Sheldon, I see on your shirt, coinvaultatm.com is where people can probably find out more information. Is there anything else, any other websites or social media IDs you'd like to talk about?
Well, coinvaultatm.com is where we host our corporate presence. Of course, we're on Twitter with coinvaultatm, and several of our all the other social media places, including the LinkedIn. But ideally, I would ask you to study more about Bitcoin, understand what it represents, and talk about it with all your friends and neighbors, because you are a pioneer, you are a representative, you are an agent of Bitcoin, and you'll be able to look back in time with your children or your grandchildren, and they will say, wow, that's amazing that my family member was involved when the technology was so immature, as you might have been involved in the computers or the evolution of the computer using a very simple concept of an AOL or a Netscape back in just pure 1995. Here we are sitting in 2015, a mere 20 years later, a technology that has changed the world, created a borderless globe, and Bitcoin itself now allows that borderless globe to now conduct commerce in a very efficient and effective manner.
Thanks, Sheldon.
Thank you for the opportunity to share with you and your audience, and we appreciate the opportunity. And just realize that Bitcoin is going to the moon. There'll be a satellite network launched, and with those nodes deployed, don't kid yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Rob's sharing with you the evidence of the truth of the future, and now it's up to you to either use it or don't use it. Thanks, Rob, for the opportunity to share with you tonight.
You're welcome. That satellite is amazing, too, isn't it?
Amazing technology, yes.
All right, thanks, Sheldon.
This episode of The Bitcoin Game is brought to you by the biggest Los Angeles Bitcoin event to date. This one-day Bitcoin conference is called The State of Digital Money and takes place on April 18th. Speakers at this event include Jeff Garzik, Connie Galippi, Michael Turpin, Paul Snow, Steve Beauregard, Ken Miller, and many others. And particularly exciting to me is that I'll be the MC at this event. I've created a bit.ly link that includes a 20% discount for the Bitcoin Game listeners. Go to bit.ly/LABTC. Or if you shy away from URL shorteners, just Google The State of Digital Money and you'll find the event. When you click through to Eventbrite to buy your tickets, click the text that says Enter Promotional Code and enter Bitcoin Game with no space between the words, and you'll receive a 20% discount. You can also find the URL in this episode's show notes. Hope to see you there. Today's magic word is fly. F-L-Y. Use the magic word to claim your share of this week's listener distribution of LTB Coin on letstalkbitcoin.com.
I'm Emily with Shapeshift.
And we're standing next to Eric Voorhees, but I'm telling you, I'm feeling shy to talk to him, so I'm talking to you instead. And you are actually from Switzerland and working with him on...
I work in Switzerland. That's
I mean,
where we
not
were
from.
based. Yes.
But you and Eric are currently in Switzerland, and you and he are part of...
Eric is he's our founder and CEO, and I am our director of marketing and PR for non-Asian markets.
So as I was saying, Shapeshift seems amazing.
It is amazing.
I've had a few shots and a few beers, and I came here straight from the airport without eating anything, so I'm not good for much right now.
We
But
have some chips and salsa on the table over there.
whoa, is that yours?
It was a couple hours ago.
Hey, I'm Rob.
John, nice to meet you, man.
I'm recording this, if you didn't know. You're from Shapeshift?
Yeah, I'm the head of operations at Shapeshift.
And are you in Switzerland also?
Yes, I am.
Wow. So I'm just amazed at Shapeshift. It just seems so easy. It's just unbelievable.
That was the goal. It's a lot of hard things going on in the background that make it easy for the user.
So how does Shapeshift work?
We basically hold an inventory of all the coins we have, and then we also connect to a bunch of different third-party exchanges in order to discover price, get market rates, leverage the trades that we do, etc. But that allows us to, by the inventory that we hold, allows us to offer our users an instant exchange and give them their coins immediately. So when you buy coins from Shapeshift, you're not buying from like an order book or anything, you're buying directly from us. So it works almost like a vending machine, basically. You put one coin in, another coin comes out.
Okay, I thought somehow you were pairing people up, but no, it's all through you guys.
It's almost more like we're a vending machine or like a broker than we are like an order book, because exactly.
So how do you guys make money?
We make money mostly by the spread of the markets, because we offer an instant exchange rate, and in order to do that, we have to pull it from a certain depth in the market. So depending how much is exchanged and the particular market and how liquid it is, there's sort of a natural spread that's part of it. So we make a little bit on the spread on each particular transaction.
What are some of the most popular trading pairs?
So probably some of the most popular ones, it changes week to week, but Bitcoin Litecoin, Bitcoin Dartcoin. The last week or so, actually, Litecoin Startcoin has been very popular.
Litecoin what?
Startcoin. There's a coin called Startcoin. It's actually endorsed by Max Kaiser, and it's gotten pretty popular. And there's also Dogecoin's pretty popular, both Bitcoin, Dogecoin, Bitcoin. A lot of alt-to-alt pairs. Shapeshift offers a lot of alt-to-alt pairs that you can't find anywhere else because of the way our system works. Those can be pretty popular. Shadow Cash has been pretty popular the last week or two. But it kind of rises and falls. It depends on the week and what the markets are doing.
Interesting. So what's it like in Switzerland?
It's nice. It's really cool, yeah. It's a beautiful area.
You plan on living in Switzerland for a long time?
At least while I'm working for Shapeshift, and then we'll see from there.
So you guys have nothing to do with things like Coinapult and other stuff Eric's involved in?
No, Eric left Coinapult about a year ago, basically to start Shapeshift, and that's basically when I got involved and started working with him. And ever since then, we've been talking with Coinapult in terms of some partnerships and some other things, but we're not directly involved.
Okay, and I was totally unaware that Eric was no longer involved with Coinapult.
Yeah, and he kept his involvement with Shapeshift secret until just about 3 weeks ago, actually.
Yeah, I saw the news when Eric basically I guess dropped that he was the guy behind it. It was like, whoa!
It was interesting. We had to kind of keep it on the down low for a long time, but
that must have been fun.
Yeah, it's still fun.
And I have a podcast on the Let's Talk Bitcoin network, and Epicenter Bitcoin recently joined up with the network, and I see they use Shapeshift so they can accept all the coins that Shapeshift uses.
We've been actually working with Epicenter for at least about 6 months now. What Epicenter did is they just added our little button that we have called the Shifty button, and that allows them to very easily allow anyone who has any of the altcoins we support to instantly donate or send money to them and have it instantly converted to Bitcoin. So basically, for them, it's no different than taking Bitcoin. They just put that button on their site, and now they can take all these coins just like they take Bitcoin.
Sure.
When we first launched, all we supported was Bitcoin and Litecoin, but we've added, obviously, a lot more coins since then, and it's kind of just grown exponentially since then. I mean, our volume has increased by somewhere between like 30 to 40% every month since then. So it's been growing like crazy.
Wow. I was pretty excited to see Eric here. When I first got into Bitcoin, he was one of a handful of people who just seemed like the Bitcoin people.
Yeah.
So, he's right behind me. I've actually emailed him requesting an interview, and I didn't get a response. So
I bet you we could get you one.
That would be great, but maybe at the conference.
Yeah, definitely. And I think he's actually... he got, I guess, a couple speakers dropped out, so Eric's actually now speaking on Sunday.
Oh, exciting.
Go to that too, but I'm sure he'd be very happy to do an interview sometime. He set it up. You could even set it up through Emily, because Emily basically will run his schedule.
Okay. How did you get involved with Eric and Shapeshift?
Eric reached out to me because I actually was part of a development company that took Bitcoin as payment, and he was looking for someone to help with his projects, and he wanted to pay in Bitcoin. So basically, he found me, started talking with them, started working on some projects with them, and Shapeshift just kind of blossomed out of that, and I helped him basically build the team and grow the site to what it is now.
How do you think that stood out to Eric where he wanted you to work for him?
Honestly, the way it stood out is just that we accepted Bitcoin. I started accepting Bitcoin at my company about a year before I had ever heard from Eric, or he'd ever contacted us, and he was just looking for companies that accepted Bitcoin, and happened to, I think he found a number of companies and found mine, and liked what we were doing and liked what we had to offer, and just kind of went with us, and it grew from there.
How were you accepting Bitcoin? Just through your own native software, or through a service, or?
Through a merchant processor, originally through Coinbase, but since then I've switched to using BitPay. I've recently had some problems with Coinbase, and that's what kind of motivated the switch, because Coinbase started getting basically on me about all sorts of compliance issues, and I supplied them all sorts of data, and it wasn't enough for them, and they just kept asking for more and more, and I basically said, screw it, I'm going to switch to a different company because I'm tired of giving you information. So I switched to BitPay, and they've been a lot more welcoming as far as I'm concerned.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't tried the Coinbase interface. I thought, like, just looking at them, you could just kind of like grab a button and start accepting payments. It's not that simple.
It's easy to get started, but the problem is that after you take a certain amount of volume of payments, they start asking for more and more, basically, compliance information, and in my opinion, more than they even need to ask for. I don't have a problem with them asking for compliance info, but at a certain point, they're just overreaching and asking for too much, in my opinion. And I know that I've talked to quite a few people who've had similar problems where they just kind of, they're not very nice about it, is what I would say.
Interesting.
Yeah. I still support them. I think that they're doing some cool things in the space, and I don't really necessarily hold any ill will, but I've had to switch my merchant processing just as a result of that.
So what made you decide you wanted to accept Bitcoin?
Well, I myself just personally got into Bitcoin, a couple years ago, and the reason I wanted us to accept Bitcoin is because there was no reason not to. That was the main reason. There was no reason not to do it, and I really wanted to support the industry and be involved, and it just kind of played out that way. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Have you guys been to other conferences?
Yeah, so we were in Miami just in January, yeah. That was my first Bitcoin conference, so this will be my second one.
Do you have particular goals or?
Mainly, Eric wants us to be here and so we're exhibiting. We're exhibiting Saturday and Sunday. We have a booth. We'll be doing demos for people. We'll be giving out shirts and other pens and other swag. So definitely feel free to come by the booth and get a t-shirt. They're pretty awesome.
I'd love one.
Yeah, definitely come by and get one. And that's the main thing. We're just trying to, make people more aware of what we do and hopefully bring more awareness to the service.
I don't know if it's just my own world. I just figured everyone was aware of Shapeshift by now.
It seems like most people are, but not everyone, I assume.
I was gonna say, you're wasting your time. Everyone here knows.
Well, if that's really the case, then I'm okay with that.
Okay. All right.
Well, you got a second. This dude's from Let's Talk Bitcoin. I would love to have a few seconds.
I've got my own podcast. My name's Rob, but
hey, Eric.
It's real. You're kind of like the star. I've been kind of shy to come talk to.
Oh, well, good to meet you.
Good to meet you too. And
I guess. What show do you do on Let's Talk Bitcoin?
I have a fairly new podcast called The Bitcoin Game.
Cool.
And I don't know if it got to you. I sent you an email wanting to interview you after it came out that you were behind Shapeshift.
When did you?
Probably a couple days after it came out that you were behind Shapeshift.
Oh. Sorry if I missed it.
No problem.
I'd be happy to do a chat.
I'm looking forward to it.
Here, I'll give you a card.
Okay. Well, let's see. Do I have any more keychains? Oh, one more. Yeah, there you go.
I like this bling here.
See, he's giving these out.
Yeah, they're pretty sweet.
Here. I'd be honored if you just take a keychain.
Sure. Awesome. Thank you.
Great. And I look forward to talking to you during the conference.
Yeah, good to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
There you go.
What? Everybody's looking at me. You just met him. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm here with Joey, and I can't remember your last name.
Krug.
So, what is your project?
So my project's called Augur, and it's a decentralized prediction market platform.
Is that basically just people trying to, I guess, put their money or Bitcoin on what they think is going to happen?
Yeah, exactly that. So basically, you ask a question, and the question can be, will this happen by this date? Or it can be, will the price of Apple, for instance, be above $200 by this date? Or what will the price be, just in general? And with these questions, then people will basically buy and sell shares in the outcomes. And whatever the current share price is the best estimate for the likelihood of that event actually happening. So if the question is, will Obama become president in 2012, and the Obama share price is 67 cents, that means the market thinks he has a 67% chance of winning.
And how have prediction markets fared as far as accuracy?
With elections, they've been the most accurate tool ever, except for one election. Nate Silver beat a prediction market. But
which was that?
That was the 2008 election, I believe, with Obama. Nate Silver had a more accurate forecast than Intrade, which Intrade was an old prediction market, which it got shut down.
You look pretty young. How old are you?
I'm 19.
19, and you have a company called Augur already at 19. So how at 19 do you already have all this going on?
Initially, I started off taking a leave of absence from school to work on a point-of-sale company for Bitcoin point-of-sale. that's how I did the Bluetooth low energy transactions. But then I came across one of my buddies who was working on this idea that basically ended up becoming Augur. And he started working on it in August, and that's when he called me and asked if I was interested in working on it. I said sure, and started in September, and we've been working on it ever since.
Okay, so I see you're in the Bay Area. Were you in Southern California before? Or?
Yeah. I used to live in Claremont, California.
Okay, so is this kind of close to smart contracts?
Yeah, so we definitely use smart contracts. You need smart contracts for a few things. One is when you buy and sell shares, you don't want that to be a centralized order book. So we use smart contracts to handle all of that. And you actually buy and sell shares from an equation. And then the other thing we do is after an event happens, in a traditional prediction market, the one central party says Obama won or, Romney didn't win, whatever. And then they pay out the money. With our system, we don't want to do that because it has a central point of failure. That person can run away with the money, they can cheat, they can lie, whatever. So what we do instead is we say, why don't we have thousands of people report what actually happened? And they'll submit their reports, and we'll run some fancy math on that to make sure they're not cheating, and then take that result instead of a central party.
Okay, so you're saying your data is reports from a lot of people rather than a news source or something?
Yep, exactly.
So how do the people actually report to you or Augur?
So basically what they do is a prediction market, you should have the type of question that's good for a prediction market is something that you know is probably going to happen sometime, but you don't know what's going to happen. So a good example is an election or maybe a geopolitical event or something. And so you ask the question, and then after the event happens, it's very easy to know what happened. So if it's a presidential election, after the election, you know who won. And that's when the reporters come in. They report who won. So all they have to do is just Google it, and they find the answer.
I guess that's always my problem with smart contracts that have to do with information. I just don't understand how that works, basically.
Okay, so there's a few aspects here. Smart contracts with information, that's a problem that's relatively, until now, gone unsolved. And the problem is you have real-world data. You need to get it into the blockchain, into the smart contract, and you don't want to trust a centralized third party to get that data because then the blockchain's pointless because you're relying on one point of failure. So with our reporting system of thousands of people reporting, what they do is they get the answer, they get the real world data, however they feel comfortable doing it. If it's a presidential election, most people are probably just going to Google the question. If it's something more complicated, like did cold fusion occur, it might take a bit more than Google. But the idea is they can find the information on their own and then report it to the blockchain.
Can you explain how the real world information actually becomes entered into the blockchain?
Yeah, so imagine you're a reporter in our system. The one aspect of being a reporter is your report is weighted based on a thing called reputation. And if you report dishonestly, if say Obama won, you say he didn't win, then you're going to lose reputation in the system and your report's going to count for less. And so basically the idea is that there's this idea called Schelling points. And the idea of a Schelling point is it's a solution that people tend to come to in the absence of communication. So a good example of this is if you're told to meet with a random person in New York City and you're supposed to meet them at noon. You have no idea where you're supposed to meet, you just need to meet them in New York. The most common place people meet is the Empire State Building. After that, they go to the Statue of Liberty. Those are the most common Schelling points for New York. And so the idea is that truth is also a Schelling point. And the cool part is you have truth as a Schelling point, but you need to make sure people can't communicate. Because, as I said, a Schelling point's the solution people come to in the absence of communication. But if they can communicate, they can collude and cheat. And so what we do is we prevent them from cheating by doing a thing called a commit and reveal. And what that means technically is you have your report, right? And what you do is you take the report and a random number, and you take the hash of that, and you submit that to the network. Then after a waiting period, it's locked in, you can't change it. And then you reveal your report, and you reveal your random number. Now, before it's locked in, if someone can provide a report and a number that you used, what happens is they can take your reputation. The reason is because the only way someone can get that number is if you try to cheat. So basically, the only way you can cheat in our system is if you just happen to trust the person you're cheating with, but you can't prove you cheated. And so what ends up happening game theoretically is it just becomes a huge prisoner's dilemma. And so the idea is, the truth just remains a selling point, provided you can't communicate.
Really interesting. Where can people find out more about Augur?
Well, you can find out more about Augur at www.augur.net. There's also a blog there where we have, more in-depth explanations of certain parts of our system. And there's also 2 white papers. There's a white paper that has the theory behind it, and there's a white paper that has more implementation details.
So, and you're speaking at this conference, right?
Yeah, I speak last talk tomorrow.
What will you be talking about?
So I'll be giving a high-level overview of Augur, for the first 2/3 of my presentation. And then near the end, I'll go into more in depth of how some of the cool parts work. And then in the end, I'll talk about some of the things that Augur can do that most people don't think of when you think of Augur. Things that even I didn't think of until relatively recently in my involvement with the project. Because the idea is that you can use this for prediction markets. That's what everybody talks about: prediction markets, predicting events. But you can also use it for getting data into the blockchain and lots of other cool things that I'll talk about tomorrow.
Interesting. So I've got to admit, just on Twitter, you just seem like just some kid with an interesting hat who had an opinion. I didn't realize, you were going to be speaking at Bitcoin conferences soon, so I find this very interesting. What were you doing at school before you decided to go off onto this stuff?
So I was studying computer science, and in my free time at school, I worked on the Bitcoin point of sale, and I made some iOS games. And I figured out that both those things were a lot more fun than school, and I enjoyed them a lot more, so I decided to take a leave and ended up working on Augur.
Okay, and tell me again, what specifically were you doing for Paul Pui from Airbits?
The thing Paul had was he had perfect communication between 2 iPhones with Bluetooth Low Energy Bitcoin transactions, which basically means that you can send a Bitcoin transaction without using QR codes or NFC. There's no clunkiness. You just pull out your phone, the person nearby pulls out their phone, and you send the transaction.
So with Airbits, just you don't have to launch anything as long as you've got Airbits going on 2 iPhones. They will start communicating with if you have Bluetooth enabled.
Provided you initiate a transaction.
Uh-huh.
Yes. And so the problem was, though, that they didn't have this for Android. And since I'd been working on this point of sale, I happened to have code to do this for Android because I'd written it to test out my software. And so what I did was I gave them all the code for that and said, email me if you have any questions. And then what ended up happening is their engineers ended up making that communicate with the iPhone version. And so now they have wallets that I'm pretty sure they communicate Android to iPhone, Android to Android and iPhone to iPhone, all Bluetooth transactions, which is pretty cool because it's the easiest way to send Bitcoin.
How does that work? Is that just like a gift from you, or do you get paid for that?
No, I don't get paid for it. It's just a gift. They are publishing a Bitcoin improvement proposal for Bluetooth Low Energy transactions, and I think they put my name on it or something.
Oh, cool. I'm looking for that BIP. So, what happened with your point-of-sale software?
It's just kind of shelved right now because I realized that Augur was a lot cooler than point-of-sale software, and I think it's also a lot more disruptive, and it's also way more fun to work on. It's probably the coolest thing I've ever worked on.
Cool. Well, fun to meet you here in Austin, being both from California. I look forward to your talk tomorrow, and we'll see you at the conference.
Thanks.
All right. Okay.
Each and every one of you, goodbye, but I don't have that kind of time. It only takes me about 1 to 1. So, good night. See you tomorrow morning.
All right, I am walking to my hotel. I just took an Uber with Joey Krug, and that's cool. I got a few interviews at the kickoff. It's quite exciting. Looks like I'm not too far from my hotel. Getting pretty close. I'm supposed to make a left here. I think on this street. What street is this? I do not know. A lot of people went to go do some bar hopping, but I'm just going to go back to my hotel and check in and get some sleep tonight. It's definitely a fun kickoff. Well, I meant to hook up with John Bear tonight, but somehow I did not see him at this event. I heard from Linda Snow that he actually played at this event, and I somehow missed him playing. I don't know how that happened. Couldn't find him. I didn't hear him. Perhaps alcohol does not mix with functioning well. Whoa, look at this. They got some little bike rental deal here. Some big line of bikes here. Fun, it says. Austin Parks Foundation. Interesting. Looks like I gotta cross a bridge to get to where I'm going. Walking on this little path here across this bridge. Bunch of ladies making a lot of noise. I see my Hyatt. Hopefully they will accept me. I've got the reservation. I've got my wallet. Oh, I didn't mention this. Got out of the Uber, and suddenly I started looking for my wallet to pay Joey for my share of the Uber, and I didn't have my wallet. And I was like, oh no, how the hell did I lose my wallet? Fortunately, turned out Joey's friend, Kosh, who was in the Uber with us, noticed the wallet sitting on the ground. I guess fell out of my pocket getting out of the Uber. So my life was saved because I couldn't check in the hotel without a credit card, and probably without my ID either. So I was going to have to go back to the Taco Express to search for my wallet, but it was right there. I'm thankful. All right, I'm getting so close to that Hyatt now. Just getting to the other side of the bridge. I see it. I can almost taste that room. Settle down. How fun that will be.
Thanks for listening to episode 14 of the Bitcoin Game. Wow, a full episode, and this is just through the Kickoff Party. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes of the Bitcoin Game to hear a ton of interviews from the actual Texas Bitcoin Conference. Check out this episode's page on letstalkbitcoin.com for links to topics discussed. You can find a listing of all episodes of the Bitcoin Game by going to thebitcoingame.com. Please let me know you listened by following or tweeting to the BTC Game on Twitter, or by commenting on this episode's page on